Welcome to this edition of PC Voyage. I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette.
On today's episode, we have Ron Archambault, average everyday computer user, Keith Davis with Bits and PCs, and Donnelly DePrill with the PC Voyage News. You know, it's kind of nice we get somebody on the set from just an everyday computer person.
I wonder where we found him from, huh?
I don't know. We had to recruit long and hard.
Go to do the trivia question.
Okay. And here's Chip with the PC Voyage trivia question.
Here are this week's computer trivia questions. Number 1. When was the Intel 8088 chip introduced? And number 2. Which 2 plus 5.0 device drivers are installed to provide access to the upper memory area?
Boy, you know, those trivia questions are really getting stupider every week.
Hard, too.
Well, I don't know about that. Hey, do you use desktop publishing?
Yeah, I've been known to dabble in it myself, occasionally do a newsletter or two.
In other words, you're not that good at it?
No.
Oh, okay, just curious. Well, tonight we have somebody who is good at it, and he's Ron Archambault, desktop publishing user. How you doing, Ron?
Fine. How are you? I'm glad you didn't use that all-too-used word.
What is desktop publishing?
Desktop publishing allows us to take text that we would generate in a word processor and graphics that you would generate in a graphics-type program, PC Paintbrush, AutoCAD, or any of the other graphics packages, and merge them together easily in one package.
What's the difference between a word processor and a desktop publisher?
Well, a desktop publisher, unlike a word processor, assembles, if you will. It assembles text and assembles graphics. A word processor allows you to take text and manipulate the text, check your definitions, has a thesaurus, allows you to cut and paste text. The desktop publishing package, although it has limited word processing ability, it shines more from the assembly, as I said, assembly point of view.
So what you're saying is that in some respects, if all you want to do is crunch words, a word processor is better. Or maybe a better phrase would be, a word processor would be a good tool to use with a desktop publishing package.
That's correct, Rainey. Actually, one doesn't really need a word processor per se. If you had DOS-5 on your system, as you know, DOS comes with its own editor. So any type of text editing facility is adequate. There are a number of different shareware packages out there, for example, very low-cost packages that you can purchase, so you don't need the higher-priced word processors to get your document into the system.
But the main difference between a word processor and a DTP package is, you mentioned, some of the features like the spelling checker, thesaurus, those kinds of things. So you still might want a full-featured word processor to put the document together.
If cost was not an issue, then yes, you probably would want to have your full-featured word processor along with a desktop publishing package, as well as perhaps some utility to allow you to generate graphics. But for the person who's on a low budget, who has to purchase those packages that are only absolutely necessary, he need not necessarily have a full-blown word processing package. And the same is true also with the graphics end also. Sometimes the question is, well, gee, do I have to go out and buy a Corel Draw, or do I have to have an AutoCAD, or do I have to have a PC Paintbrush? And the answer is no. All you have to have is the access to the drawings. Once a person who has a PC Paintbrush, for example, generates a drawing, then it's simply a matter of taking that drawing and putting it on a floppy diskette and giving it to you. You have full rights to use that drawing as long as he's given you the okay. And once you have that drawing, and that's where the desktop publishing package shines. You just simply expand on that drawing and bring it into the desktop publishing system.
What would you recommend for someone who, let's say, was beginning in desktop publishing?
There are a number of desktop publishing packages out there. Some of you may be familiar with Ventura Publisher or CorelDRAW, and these are sophisticated packages. We'll say they are in the upper echelons, the $600, $700, $800 price range, and higher, of course. And then there is the more of the PC-based desktop publishing package like Publish It. PFS also has a package. Macintosh also has their low-end package, and these packages typically sell for under $200.
But doesn't it always depend on what kind of work you want to do with a desktop publishing package?
Yes, it does. Again, I have to ask the question, what type of funds are available? The individual that is considering getting into desktop publishing. If money's no object, then fine. Then some of the larger scale packages have the tools, they have the facilities to produce the more elaborate newsletters, brochures, things of this nature. But someone perhaps who is not quite sure that they want to get into it full-fledged. Yes, maybe they'd like to do the occasional newsletter, maybe they belong to an organization or a club and they've been asked, because they have a personal computer of their own, they've been asked to produce that organization's newsletter, or perhaps they own or their own business or are working part-time, and that owner has asked them to put together a brochure for that company. Then that person may not be sure that he wants to get involved with a high-end package or have the resources to invest. So a lower-end package like Publish It Lite, or some of the other packages are a good first step.
Along with that, what would you recommend for the beginner for hardware? What would be the minimum requirement for hardware that they should possess?
Well, the typical hardware configuration should, of course, be an IBM-compatible type of machine. VGA graphics is almost always recommended. A mouse is without a doubt, although some of the packages are capable of running without the mouse. You're really working to a disadvantage without having the mouse. The 20 megabyte hard drive and about 640K of RAM. Again, that would depend on the type of package that was purchased.
How about a demonstration?
Sure. I've just executed Publish It here, and this is their introductory screen. Like many packages on the market today, there are a number of tools that come with the package. We've got the familiar command line bar at the top of the screen, and as you move your mouse across the top of the screen and it lands on an item, a window is dropped down. And this is how you control most of the flow of the package. One of the first things one would probably want to do is select his paper size. Now you have the ability to work with the actual 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but since this monitor is not 8.5 by 11, part of the sheet will be visible only at a time. So one of the options is perhaps size to fit, which says take my 11.5 sheet of paper and compress it so that it will be fully displayed on the screen. Unlike word processing packages, a desktop publishing package would like you to first lay out or get an idea or generate an outline of what it is you want to do. Incidentally, Publish It, I found, was very similar to Ventura Publisher in its look and its feel. So if someone were familiar with or was considering going into Ventura Publisher but couldn't lay down the large dollars, then this would be a good second option. In the upper left-hand corner, we have a group of 4 boxes. And the one in the very extreme upper left, is the one that is highlighted right now. This will allow me to generate a box. And this is an outline, if you will. I'm going to be placing some items inside the box. But first, I would like to tell the system a little bit about what my page is going to look like. So I'm simply using the mouse and clicking in the upper left-hand corner and in the lower right-hand corner arbitrarily around the page. Now I have in mind that my newsletter, first page of my newsletter, perhaps will have a heading at the top. I would perhaps like to have a drawing in the upper left-hand corner underneath the heading, some text. Maybe I'd like to break over to the other side and come in with another drawing. And again, perhaps some more text.
Can you have Publish It do this for you automatically, or do you have to go in and set up all the blocks?
You can have it do it for you automatically. One of the advantages of buying this desktop publishing package, as well as a lot of the others that are on the market today, is that they come with a library of predefined layouts. If you would like to do a newsletter, it's simply a matter of thumbing through the manual and finding the newsletter style of your choice, and then you can restore that style and just put in your own text, put in your own graphics. But the basic layout is there. The same is true for things like wedding invitations and articles and things of this nature. When I press the mouse on one of the boxes, this puts little boxes around the larger box. And this tells me that that is the box that is activated. A concept of desktop publishing that is not a familiar term with other types of software, and that is the ability to pour in the text and pour in the graphics. I'll select File and move down to the section that says Import Picture. Now, Publish It has the ability to import a number of different graphics file formats. PC Paintbrush has PCX, there's Gem, there's Lotus, PostScript. A number of different formats are supported. You would just simply select the format for the drawing that you have already saved on your system and select OK. And that one is empty.
Popular directory, the empty one.
We'll import. We'll select PCX. I'll select my Pictures directory and select a PCX file. Now this will take a few minutes. PCX file format is a rather large file, so the desktop publishing package has to read in a number of different.
Now, can you easily move the picture around once you get it up on the screen?
Yes, that's one of the advantages, that's one of its features of a desktop publishing package, is the ability to take a drawing and to literally slide it around the screen. Now the screen or the drawing has fallen in. Unfortunately, it's at a relatively small scale for us to determine what it is. By going into one of the tools, we could zoom in on it. But before we do that, I'd like to pour in some text. And again, I'm using the desktop publishing package not so much to do my actual editing as I am to take a file that has already been created.
Could you do your own editing right online here?
Yes, you can. And I usually do that. I usually use only last-minute changes. Things that I realize I made a typographical error or I would like to change a word. I usually resort to only that type of editing in the desktop publishing package. I've selected File. I'm going to move down to Import Text. And again, like the graphics format, Publish It supports a number of different word processing packages. WordPerfect, WordStar, Microsoft Word, so on and so forth, as well as ASCII. I have a file saved here in the ASCII format. We'll click on OK. My directories will come into view. I would like to select from Stories. And I have a file out here. We've selected it. Pick OK. And that story literally pours into the space. If the story is larger than the space that was allocated, I simply pick another box, reselect the file, and it pours into the new box.
Does it determine where it stops? I mean, does it just say stop at the end of a paragraph, or does it just stop at a line? And
it will pour the text into the box as the box is large enough to accommodate it.
so if you find it that it's stopping in the middle of a paragraph, you may want to move that text or shrink the box and have it move the text into the other box.
Yes, that's correct. For example, if I now decided that I would like to put another picture perhaps at the bottom of this box, I'll click the box, grab onto one of these little squares at the bottom, a little hand appears, and now I'm literally shrinking or compressing that box. And this is unheard of in most of your word processing packages, the ability to literally, with a touch of a button, move text around.
Thank you very much, Ron, for stopping in and paying us a visit. It certainly was enlightening, don't you think so, Rainey?
I know, I mean,
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever really cared to know that much about desktop publishing.
Why not? You've got him to do it for you.
That's right.
And next up, the trivia answer.
Nice
I
job.
realize it's
Here are this week's computer trivia answers. Number 1. The Intel 8088 chip was introduced in June of 1979. And number 2. IMM.sys and EMM386.exe provide access to the upper memory area.
Welcome back. Another great trivia question. Never mind. Let's see, where are we going now here? I'm all lost. I'm all confused.
And next up,
Keith Davis with Bits and PCs.
pardon me, but did you say Keith?
Did I say Keith?
Our producer?
Did I say Keith?
Yeah, our producer. Wow.
I know. Well, it's about time we give him something to do around here. Right? We make it so easy for him, he doesn't have to do anything. We'll be right back. Keith will be right back.
Hi, I'm Keith Davis. Today, what we're going to talk about is installing software. Now, there's several methods by which programs go through an installation procedure, and we're not going to go into all of them, and we're not going to go into the more complicated ones. A lot of software today comes with install routines that take care of most of the chores of getting the computer's program from the disk that you buy into your computer and setting it up in there. And a lot of times you put a disk in a drive and you just type install and away it goes. It takes care of several chores. When it does that, it will make a directory to put the files in. It will check to see if directories and files already exist so there's no conflict and things like that. And then it will get the files from the floppy disk that you buy into the hard drive. But a lot of programs are simply a series of files that are stored on a disk, and to get them into your computer and running, it's just a matter of making a directory and copying the files from the floppy drive into that directory, and then you're ready to run them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a disk here, which has a program on it, and get it into the B drive here. Okay, now what we want to do now is get the data from that disk over to the hard drive. Now we're in the root directory of the hard drive right now. And let's do a directory there, and we'll see we have several subdirectories and some files in there. And the program we have here, by the way, is Procom, a modem program. So the first thing we want to do is make a subdirectory on the hard drive to hold the files for Procom. So we'll say MD, and we'll call it modem. That's a good name for a modem subdirectory. And we'll change directories to modem. So now we're in the modem subdirectory. Now if we do a directory of the B drive where we put the disks, we will see we have the modem files are over here. So to copy the files over to the hard drive, we just say copy from the B drive star dot star, meaning all files with all extensions. And we can just hit enter at this point because it's going to copy the files to the destination, which is the current drive and directory that we're in. We're in the directory we want the files to be in, so we don't have to supply the name. If we did, it would look like this. But that's optional at that point because we're already there. So when we hit enter now, the computer is going to copy all the files into the directory. And it'll take just a second. If you're on the B drive, you can copy the files from the B drive to the C drive, but we did it in just the reverse order. So now if we do a directory of the C drive modem subdirectory, we'll see the files are now over on the hard drive. So now if we want to run the program, all we have to do here is type program, and the program runs. And you can see we have our modem program there. We exit the program, we're back at our DOS prompt, and there's our files. So now we've created a directory to hold a program, and we've copied files over into it. And we'll see on some later shows with some more DOS commands. So tune in then. Now, how do we get rid of these things?
Boy, now that Keith has shared with us the plethora of knowledge that he has, let's see if Chip...
Would you have to get a thesaurus to learn that word?
That's right. It's one word in my vocabulary that I use a lot. Okay, and next up, Chip has the PC Voyage address.
If you have any questions, or if you have any comments about the show, please write to us. Our new address is PC Voyage, P.O. Box 10486, Holyoke, Massachusetts 01041. We appreciate hearing from you.
Where we just come back from the address. Well, I'm all lost. I've been lost all day. What can I say?
LIS, lost in space.
You know, one of the things that's important that people tell us what kind of things that they want to see on this show. You know, we make up all these great topics and get guys like Ron in here and you know, all kinds of guests, and we got the Computer Museum coming up. We've got a visit with Russ Walters coming up on future shows, and you know, if anybody out there has any better ideas of things that we should be doing, you know, let us know.
We're all ears.
We're
all ears.
To coin a former presidential candidate. Huh?
Ooh. I don't know.
And next up, here is Donald Lee DePro with PC Voyage News.
Gateway 2000 has introduced a new 25 megahertz 486SX based PC. We feel that the 486SX25 is the entry-level PC now. It's what people should be buying, says Ted Waite, president of the North Sioux City, South Dakota-based computer maker. The system comes with 4 megabytes of RAM, a 170 megabyte hard disk, 2 floppy drives, and a 14-inch color display. Bundled software includes DOS 5.0, Windows 3.1, and Microsoft Works for Windows. It sells for $1,495. Gateway 2000 also introduced a new 33 megahertz 486DX computer system for $1995. 3 former Cornell University students have been sentenced to community service for creating and distributing a virus that affected Macintosh computers in California and Japan. David Blumenthal and Mark Pilgrim pleaded guilty last month to charges of computer tampering. They were each sentenced to perform 520 hours of community service and to make restitution of nearly $2,500. Randall Swanson pleaded guilty to helping spread the virus. He was sentenced to 450 hours of community service. The MBDFA virus was placed into several games. The code affects Macs in Osaka, Japan, and at Stanford University. Panasonic is preparing to make a major push into the notebook computer market. The company has created the Panasonic Computer Division. The Fort Worth, Texas-based operation will release several new notebook PCs over the next few weeks, including a model that can run for up to 11 hours on a pair of battery packs. The 25 megahertz AM386 SXLV-based CF1000 PC takes advantage of 3.3 volt power technology instead of the 5 volts usually used in notebook computers. It has a base price of $22.99 and is scheduled for release in November. IBM and Sears have announced that they will combine their computer network services. The new company, Advantis, will provide both voice and data transmission services to large businesses. The firm will offer service to 550 cities in 92 countries. Advantis will employ 1,500 workers from IBM and an equal number from Sears. IBM will own a majority stake in the adventure. The company will be headquartered in Schaumburg, Illinois, outside of Chicago, and expects to begin operation by the end of the year. It will initially have more than 9,000 customers and 1 million users. If baseball is a game of statistics, then Total Baseball on CD-ROM must be the answer to every baseball fan's dreams. The disc is the electronic version of the 2,629-page Total Baseball Encyclopedia. It features complete statistics on all of the 13,490 Major League players who have set foot on the diamond since 1871. In addition to statistics in virtually every imaginable category, the CD-ROM offers radio sound clips of baseball's greatest moments and photos of over 500 players. This $69.95 disc, bundled with Tony La Russa's Ultimate Baseball Game, is available from DAC Industries of Canoga Park, California. And finally, PC fiddling may have replaced thumb twiddling as a major drain on U.S. productivity, according to a survey conducted by SBT Accounting Systems of Sausalito, California. The software publisher estimates that 2% of the nation's gross domestic product, or $97.4 billion, is being wasted by workers who diddle, fiddle, and generally mess around with their computers instead of doing real work. SBT also figures that clerical and secretarial workers waste up to 4% of their time simply attempting to get software to function. The company notes that PCs can be a great time sink. Portions of the PC Voyage News were brought to you by the Prodigy Systems. I'm Donnelly DePrill, and that's the news.
Watch for PC Voyage weekly on your local community access channel.
Boy, another great show down the tubes. We've had Ron Archambault with this great demonstration of desktop publishing. We had Keith Davis with Bits and PCs. We had Donnelly DePrill with PC Voyage News. What's left?
The close.
Well, go ahead.
On that note, I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette. See you next week on PC Voyage.